And joining us now on the program, pleased to have with us Curtis Rainbolt, Technical Service Rep with BASF. He is here to talk to us about alfalfa and the alfalfa growing season in front of us. Curtis, great to chat with you again. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're doing well.
I'm doing well, Jesse. Thanks for having me.
Well, looking at high quality alfalfa and really thinking about a crop that I think sometimes maybe we lose sight of when we're thinking about our corn and our soybeans and our wheat, et cetera. But looking at alfalfa, such a key crop that we do grow here in the U.S. Let's just start. What is that overall outlook for the upcoming alfalfa growing season before we dive into thinking about managing weeds and insects, et cetera? What is just kind of the overall outlook as it stands right now?
In general, I think things are pretty good for the alfalfa market, particularly when you're looking at our irrigated alfalfa acres. So those are acres that are pretty intensively managed, and they're producing that quality alfalfa, whether that's for the dairy or export market. And those markets have been reasonably strong, at least in the western U.S. where I'm located, and certainly in California. You've heard of all the water, which for our irrigated acres, oftentimes that's limited. So I think we'll be in a pretty good position with water as we go in to produce these alfalfa crops this season.
Well, as we go in and produce those alfalfa crops, of course, like any other crop that we grow, we got to worry about managing weeds and insects and diseases and you name it. So, what are some management strategies you would have for folks? I would have to think it probably starts with talking to and working with a local expert to manage some of the issues that are going to be in certain growing areas.
Yeah, it really does vary based on where you are and what you're going to run in throughout the course of the season. And alfalfa is a different crop, being a perennial crop that's in the ground for multiple years. So your management is a little bit different. And then also you've got multiple cuttings per year, depending on where you are, that could be say 3 to 7 cuttings. And because of that, that's going to impact the way you manage it. Right now, we're coming out of dormancy where I'm located at in the Pacific Northwest, whereas down in the desert of California, Arizona, they're certainly going. But in my areas, we're coming out of dormancy. Obviously, weeds are one of our first concerns. So if you didn't get an application down of a residual product while the crop was dormant, you need to be thinking about something you can do in season. For BASF, one of the things we have that fits in that spot is Beyond Extra. Growers probably don't know that name. In the past, that product was called Raptor, but we've made a name change there. When I hear the word Raptor, that's something they've probably worked with for 15 or 20 years. But a good selective herbicide for use in conventional hay can help manage a lot of weeds. But if you did get something out in dormancy, we hope maybe that was some Prowl H2O. Can manage a lot of difficult grass, broadleaf weeds, things like lamb's quarters. Also, dodder, one of our real challenging kind of oddball weeds we see in alfalfa. And then sharpen can help give us some winter annual control as we're coming out of winter too. So, we've got a lot of tools for herbicides in alfalfa, and it's something if you've got a problem, we like to think we can find a solution.
Well, and you mentioned some of those broadleaf weeds and diseases, et cetera. And I think part of it too, looking at not only those solutions and also being out there and maybe scouting your alfalfa crop a little bit just to identify anything new that might pop up that you hadn't seen before in your field, Curtis.
Right. Yeah. Alfalfa is one of those crops that really the intensive scouting will benefit you. And really, when we think about scouting, it's always good. But when you have a long crop that's going throughout the season, multiple cuttings, the more you stay on it, the better off you can do. Right now, as we're coming out of dormancy, things to consider also would be diseases. We've had a really wet spring here and cool, and so that's kind of the environment that can foster some disease. And we often see in my area disease in that first cutting is when it's most severe. And one thing's a little bit counter intuitive about disease in alfalfa is it's often in your best stand. If you have an older stand that's got some weak spots and some weeds, we don't see as much disease there as we do in what's in your best, thickest stands. And that's just because you get that moisture in there and you don't get a lot of wind movement. And that's an ideal environment for disease. So, while you can scout for disease in our area, I think the guys that grow alfalfa multiple years and the crop advisors that work in every year know that a preventative fungicide application is really going to give us the best control. Doesn't fit in every cutting. As we get later in the season, we get dry, it's not needed. But this first cutting is one that we often want to protect with a fungicide like Preaxor.
Well, Curtis, I think overall, and you mentioned a few products, BASF, of course, fully invested partner in alfalfa production and providing some of those products for growers, and also just providing expertise and insight as well with technical service reps such as yourself.
Yeah, we love working in alfalfa. It's kind of a core crop for us, particularly, like I said, in these irrigated acres out in the West. It's a very important crop. These growers are committed. It's not an easy thing to grow. And you know, they constantly have challenges, and both myself, my counterparts in the tech service group at BASF, our business representatives, we all take some pride in working in alfalfa, and it's a crop we enjoy trying to find some solutions for. So.
Well, Curtis, I'm sure if growers have questions, they want to look at certain products for their alfalfa production, they could reach out to their local tech service rep, their local retailer, go online, a lot of different ways to get in touch, isn't there?
Yeah, there really are. And I think the best way to start, we would like to partner with our crop advisors in the area. So, you know, that's a great place to start. If you have a retail crop advisor or a consultant that you work with, ask that question. But certainly, you know, you're always welcome, you know, to go to BASF website for alfalfa to find more information, or reach out. We're happy to help. We love getting out in the alfalfa fields. So.
Fantastic. Well, Curtis, before we let you go, anything else we haven't mentioned about the upcoming alfalfa season that we need to keep in mind?
You know, one tool maybe growers aren't aware of because it's relatively new is our insecticide Safina, and it's really a product that's targeting aphids. But we do in some areas have this pest called blue alfalfa aphid, and it really can drag your yields down. It injects a toxin into the plant, and so the plant just doesn't grow, which has an impact on yield and quality. It's a challenging pest too. Some aphid products just don't do that well on it, but Safina is very effective. So if you see that one, or you see an aphid you're not aware of, please work with your crop advisor and get it identified, or your local university extension. If it's blue alfalfa aphid or any aphid, but Safina is a good tool for that.
Great thoughts to consider. We appreciate the time with that. Curtis Rainbolt, technical service rep with BASF. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, Jesse.